27. What's going on, FA Nation? Happy Monday, and welcome to the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS live stream. I am James Grande, joined by the playbook master himself, Jon Impemba. John, 9 games on the slab today. How are we feeling about it, brother?
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually feeling okay, to be honest with you. I think it's an interesting slate. There's a ton of news that has already come out today, and I think that's good for us. Usually we're kind of hanging on a limb here on a lot of this, so getting that news out of the way early, I actually think it's pretty solid. So, there's some good matchups. There's obvious star power here. I'm ready to go for it.
Yeah, so there's some key statuses we are awaiting. Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Marcus Smart is another one. Seemingly all of Philly, seemingly all of Indiana. So just some notes to keep an eye on as we progress in this live stream and progress up until roster lock, which is 7 p.m. So John, let's just jump into things here, starting at the point guard position as always. And we do have a question. If Stephen Curry does play, he has been incredible.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that you would fade Russell Westbrook to play Steph, or are we just all aboard the Russell bandwagon tonight?
I could be swayed if Ben Simmons is ruled out. Now, it's not that I think few people in the NBA can guard Steph Curry. They just chase him all around the floor. But we know Simmons is a very good defender. He's very long. He's a reason I think he's led the league in steals. He's just a really strong defender. So, if Simmons is active, I'd be a little less inclined to go with Steph, who's dealing with not only the tailbone injury, which they showed he's basically wearing sort of like a diaper pad, basically, to prevent him from when he falls down. But he's also dealing with that minor ankle twist that he had against the Celtics. So
the Steph Curry special right there.
Yeah, I'm less inclined to go with Steph if Simmons is active. If Simmons is out, though, yeah, I guess if you want to go there. But there's so much value on tonight's slate. Right. You can play Russ, and you can even pay up for another player tonight and get guys in your lineup. There's just so much open value. So I don't think you necessarily need to go away from him. But if you want to get different, I think Steph will give you lower ownership.
I never thought I would ever see the Washington Wizards 12.5-point favorites, John, but here we are. Let's move down the point guard list where I think things get interesting because Jordan Clarkson has been shifted over to the point guard position on FanDuel for one reason or another. And then what happens in Miami is the next question, just considering who's in and who's out there. We know Victor Oladipo's out. We know Bam Adebayo's out. Tyler Hero was originally ruled out. He is now upgraded to questionable. Goran Dragic is questionable as well. Is Kendrick Nunn, let's say all those guys are ruled out. I mean, even Jimmy Butler is currently listed questionable. Would Kendrick Nunn be an auto play under 5K on both sites, or is someone like Clarkson appealing or someone else as well?
Nunn for sure, definitely an appealing option now that we know the guys are out. Even if Hero plays, I'm still sort of leaning towards Nunn here a little bit. But when you're looking at the other players on the slate and you're looking at that price point, Jordan Clarkson for sure. I love going up against Lakers for him. No Donovan Mitchell. For mid-tier, I think he's very much a play, but it's also the value that the guys are taking a look at here. Killian Hayes is under $4,000. I think he is pretty solid, and we saw Frank Jackson lately actually score the ball pretty well for Detroit as there. Also, given the injuries that happen to be going on there, I think both of those guys kind of stand out a little bit more if I'm looking to spend down. Otherwise it's more of a stars and scrubby approach at the point guard position.
Let's shift our focus over to shooting guard, where I feel like this is a question we have seemingly now on a nightly basis, including Devin Booker. It's Devin Booker or player, Devin Booker or the other guy. And the other guy is Bradley Beal tonight. Is it Beal or Booker? Beal or Booker? We finally get Devin Booker in a good spot, a spot that he should play 35 minutes in a competitive game. But we also have Bradley Beal in quite a good spot, still under 9K on FanDuel. Do you have a preference between the two?
Yeah, I'm gonna run Booker actually in this one. I think if we're looking at draft percentage, you're gonna get lower draft percentage here on Book. For a while there, Devin Booker was balling out, he was doing you 40,
Mm-hmm.
50 fantasy points, but then they ran into a stretch of them just blowing out teams. Two of the last three games, they've been blowouts for Phoenix. Are they gonna go into Milwaukee and blow out the Bucks with a healthy Giannis? Like, I don't really see that happening. So if we're gonna be looking at a competitive game now for Phoenix tonight, like I think you're going to get the best out of Chris Paul and you're going to get the best out of Devin Booker. So I think if you're looking and playing in tournaments tonight, I think Booker makes a lot of sense. If you're playing cash games, go with Bradley Beal.
Yeah, that game currently listed at 234 in terms of over under. That leads the slate, and Milwaukee 2.5 point favorites. So, pretty much all that you just spoke on, Vegas agrees with. Let's move down to the mid tier where I think there's some interesting names. Karis LeVert. The price tag is crazy, but the production has, warranted that price. And then Joe Ingles as well. How much exposure to both those guys are you leaning one way or the other?
Yeah, so I mean, LeVert's in the playbook. As I mentioned, it's going with news that Sabonis and Turner are both questionable to play
Right.
tonight. If both sit, especially more so Sabonis, I think, than Turner, just the usage that Sabonis carries, like that offensive production is going to get spread out to Brogdon,
Right.
and it's going to get spread out to LeVert. We've seen LeVert when we go time and time again. We talk about it when like guys are out of the starting lineup there. LeVert just goes off. He just sees that huge usage increase. They'll play the two guards, and you won't really have to worry about too much offense coming from that front court there. They'll just play the two guard game. And you could see 40 fantasy points out of LeVert. So for me, it's LeVert largely only if Sabonis is out, because you're right, the price is certainly up on him. Joe Ingles, though, I mean, listen, this is a guy that, again, takes advantage of opportunities when someone is out of the rotation, whether it was Clarkson being injured, Donovan Mitchell now missing time. We've seen him, Mike Conley, when he sits and rests. Like, Ingles gets a big bump. He gets in the lineup. He plays 30-something minutes. He goes for, 30, 35 fantasy points. And he had a huge double-double against the Lakers in this last meeting. Great price for him, under $7,000. I think we run it back. I think he's good for both cash and GPP lineups.
John, let's play out a scenario here. Memphis currently has a lot of guys listed questionable. Miami has a lot of guys listed questionable. And I bring it up because we have Grayson Allen, Duncan Robinson down here in the value tier. If both teams are without all of these guys, is there a lean one way or the other?
I think if both are out with their guys, if Hero is ruled out, if Butler is ruled out, I kind of want to give Duncan a chance here. Yep.
It's a great spot.
It's a great spot for him. It's a great matchup going up against the Rockets. I know Grayson Allen, and to me, like they're almost similar players in terms of what they can give you. Like Grayson Allen isn't going out there and really filling up the stat sheet too much. He's primarily scoring. He'll give you a little bit of whatever. And I think this is an opportunity for Robinson to do the same, where like he'll chip in with 3 rebounds, and tonight he'll give you a couple more assists and fall into a steal or so. And like they could ultimately come out the same, but like I don't really love the idea of going up against Denver too much. Even with their backcourt dealing with a lot of injuries. But Allen's been playing outstanding. The last 2 games where he's played over 30 minutes, he's given you 20 actual points in those games, 30 actual fantasy points. So I'm not taking much away from either. I think that the Grizzlies are in a tougher position, than the Heat will be in tonight. So I lean Duncan a little bit. On FanDuel, maybe I would go with Allen over Robinson just because, Robinson's very reliant on the 3-point shot.
Right. It's all great points. So let's shift our focus to small forward where don't love the top of the position that much. And we kind of talked about that on last night's podcast, which you can catch over at fantasyalarm.com in the podcast section or in the NBA tab. But Jaylen Brown, Michael Porter are definitely 2 names that we should have some interest in. Jaylen seems like he's past his illness, right? It was an illness.
Just an illness. Jaylen. It wasn't COVID or anything like that. He was just sick. And you know what? I think with the way the league is starting to hand out fines also for resting players, you're going to see a lot more illnesses pop up to give guys maybe nights off. Jaylen goes for 40 actual points against the Lakers. And then sits against the Warriors. So, like, I think that makes sense. We know he's dealing with the knee thing. Now, they could have just used the knee thing, too. Like, that's a pretty documented injury that he's been dealing with this year. But I think he's fine. I'm not too worried about it. Plus, if Kemba sits, if Marcus Smart sits, I think there's going to be a really opportunity here for Jaylen Brown. We saw at times this year where we all thought it was going to be Peyton Pritchard, like starting when Kemba would be out.
Right.
They actually started Jaylen Brown at point guard. So, there's potential for point Jaylen tonight. We didn't mention Pritchard, but obviously if Kemba smarts out, Peyton Pritchard is a guy we should be taking a look at, just lack of guard depth. But, yeah, excuse me, I'm good with Jaylen tonight for sure. And then Porter, 20-plus points, just lock and load it in. Yes, Jokic is playing out of his mind with no Jamal Murray. There was a run there for Porter with a bunch of double-doubles. I think this is a matchup he could do it. So I'm fine with either. I like the matchup, I think, for Jaylen a little bit better against Chicago.
I just have one question about Michael Porter because you haven't listed as a GPP. Would you not play him in cash? He has been extremely consistent.
So for me, it's more so the matchup tonight. Like I wonder if there's going to be some sort of. I feel like a blowout could be in the cards. I know I don't have the points. I think the last time I saw the points
7.5. It's 7.5.
I know it was up there. Like, I think there's a possible chance that this game kind of gets out of the way. So, I kind of lean to going against that game more as a GPP play for the blowout potential on the Nuggets side.
I think this small forward position gets super interesting down here, and especially with a couple names that you have, both starting with the letter B, and that's Bogdanovic, Bojan, and Bey, Sadiq. If you had to pick, because they're both similarly priced, Bogdan $200 more on FanDuel and $500 more on DraftKings. You can only play one, John. Sadiq or Bojan. Who is making the final cut?
So I think I'm going to trust Bojan here more than I would Bey. Bey is definitely more of a GPP option for me tonight because we've seen him even in this same spot before, like fall flat on his face. We also saw him go off the other day, and he has a good matchup against Cleveland. We know that they're, no Larry Nance tonight. They've got Kevin Love out there. Like, is he going to be able to hang around in that front court with an athletic guy like Bey? But you have Bojan again. You look at his recent production lately. 4 straight games of at least 30 fantasy points. Before the last game against the Lakers, he had 33, 23, and 24 actual. And I know we know Bojan can shoot and score. So, again, when Donovan Mitchell's off the floor, that's like 34% usage just out of the lineup. So it's got to go somewhere. We're seeing everybody else sort of absorb it. So give me some Bojan here.
You excluded the Lakers game, but still on 5 of 15 shooting, 19 actuals. So still pretty good. Still pretty good there for the old balding Bojan. Let's shift our attention to the power forward position. Just 2 positions to go. John, we talked about it kind of extensively on the podcast last night. To Giannis or not to Giannis? Because I personally didn't want to go there. I still don't have much interest because I think there are 3 clear-cut spend-ups ahead of him. 4 if and when Steph Curry officially gets ruled in or obviously out. What say you?
So this sort of falls into the category of I'm never going to not tell you to play Giannis, right? We go this all the time. He's not injured. He played 29 minutes the other day, so I feel confident. In that aspect, when 10 of 18 shooting, he nearly had a triple-double. I'm going to go ahead and say that the injury that he had sort of put behind him there. And even in that game, it was a 13-point finish. So he could have played over 30 if it was closer. And my whole thinking behind this is we are expecting a closer game here between Phoenix and Milwaukee. So if we're talking about 33 minutes, 34 minutes out of Giannis, well, he can go for 70, and I know defensively, this is a tough matchup for a lot of teams. Giannis is he's a freak for a lack of better words, right? There's not really nobody really in the league that can one up Giannis here. Ayton's certainly not going to be able to do it. They're going to throw Crowder or Bridges on him, I assume.
Yep.
So this is a good spot for Giannis to kind of step out and have a big game. So I agree with you. There's more appealing, more attractive spend-up options tonight as we're getting news that Tobias Harris is unlikely to play. Seth Curry is likely to play. I don't believe Doc Rivers for a second with that news update, but I'm still waiting to see the Ben Simmons thing. But center has a ton of appealing options to spend up for. So for that, Giannis is likely just a contrarian tournament play for me.
John, there was actually 2 lineup notes before that I was awaiting for you. Marcus Smart will play. Kemba Walker will not.
Okay, yeah, I missed that one. So So we should expect Smart to start at point guard.
Right.
I would assume we'll see the starting lineup. I still think Peyton Pritchard is maybe a little bit more playable now. Just sort of the lack of backcourt depth. You don't need to go there on this type of slate if you're game stacking and you just like are trying to really go stars and scrubby. Like he can probably get you there. Should play 20 or so minutes tonight because they just don't have any other guards behind Smart here. But yeah, I would say Smart likely to start at point guard. Jaylen will be the small forward. I'm curious to see who enters. I assume it would be Romeo Langford. I would love if it was Jabari Parker, but we'll wait and see exactly how this plays.
Matt, let's find someone else to finish the show with. John, can you call somebody up to finish that he just dropped the Jabari Parker?
Listen, just saying, you slide Tatum down to the 3. You got Jabari at the 4. You got Jaylen at the 2. Marcus at the 1. No defense being played.
So glad we're on first name basis with all of them. So back to Giannis, I agree. This is one of those slates where you could get him at low ownership. By the way, John, 47 actual and 71 DraftKings points the last time that these two teams met was Giannis' stat line. So
48 exactly. George Hill going to make his debut for the Sixers tonight.
He hasn't played since January, so I assume we're going to see, 10 to 15 minutes. But that muddies up the waters for everybody in that backcourt. Like, if you wanted to play Korkmaz, probably can't do it. If you wanted to play Milton, probably can't do it. George Hill is gonna ruin a lot of things there because he's going to play.
Yeah.
No mistakes. He's going to play. He's a good
They were starting Steph Curry at point guard when Simmons was out earlier. I imagine they could definitely go with that similar style rotation. But you're right. Adding a guy like George Hill, who they were pretty high on acquiring, they feel like he's going to be like a core part of their run here. And George Hill was actually playing really, really well for OKC when they would let him be on the floor. So, kind of interesting that Hill is expected to, or likely to debut. So we'll see.
Right, Doc Rivers. John, now that you know the Boston news, now that we know Kemba out, Smart in, Brown in, are we paying $10,000 for Jason Tatum?
I know. Again, I put this in a sort of analysis for tonight. It's a tough sell for me. As much as I'm a homer when it comes to the Boston Celtics, and Tatum is just playing absolutely out of his mind.
Right.
And not having Kemba is going to open up a little bit of usage, not that like a ton because Tatum already has a lot of it. Right. But the fact that Jaylen Brown's back, I think, kind of takes him down a little bit of a notch here. But he can pop for 50, 60 at any time. So for me, again, he's a game stack. He's a tournament pivot play for me because I don't think many are paying $10K for Jason Tatum tonight. But there are nights, like when he went for 70 against Minnesota, it was him and Zach LaVine were like 6% on. Nobody paid up for them, and they broke the slate. So, if you want a high upside play that no one's going to play tonight, Tatum at 10K could be that guy.
I agree, and I would like you to retract the statement. I did play Zach LaVine that night.
You did, yeah. I remember.
I did play Zach LaVine that evening. Unfortunately, I did not have Tatum in my lineup, or that would have been the nuts. But did play Zach LaVine. Some other power forwards that I'm feeling, and I obviously you are too because you have them in the playbook. Kevin Love and Alexei Pokachevsky. Where are we looking to play them? Cash, tournaments, both? What's your feeling on those two?
Love is super interesting because there's no Larry Nance. He played 31 minutes the other day. We've just crushed attacking the Detroit front court all season long. If he's going to play another 30 minutes, it almost feels like a double-double. It's just the floor, right?
He is good. For anyone that hasn't seen him in a couple of years, he is a good basketball player.
And who's going up against him? Is it Cook? Is it Bay? Who's defending him tonight on the block when he's down there with his post moves and shooting from the outside? So listen, I think Love is very appealing for cash games tonight. Poku, listen, he had a bad shooting night last night, but he had 6 blocks.
I know.
He's a 7-2 wing player. So and there's no Roby, there's no Dort, so shots are going to be available to him, and it's the Wizards. So we like going in those game stacks. So I'm running it with Poku in my GBPs tonight.
How much exposure to Tillman are you going to have if Brandon Clark is ruled out?
So we know he's going to play. So like that's the thing. Like he's already playing 20 minutes anyway, sort of just off the bench. And with Clark being ruled out, that's what he's been doing. If Clark is out and now Valanciunas is out, like you have to think we could see near, I say floor 25 minutes, right? Like Till, I think Tilly,
Killian
right?
Tilly, yeah, Killian Tilly,
yeah. Like he's gonna play minutes too. Like he's gonna be in that rotation for them. It's just also not a good matchup, right? Like you're gonna start going up against Jokic, like he can be in foul trouble in 3 seconds. So, I don't think again we need to necessarily go there tonight. If you're on FanDuel, there's a billion. All the guys who your value center plays on DraftKings are your value power forwards on FanDuel. So like, I don't think you have to go there, and then I don't think you need to go to him necessarily on DraftKings either. If you're looking for value. Because I think there's a better potential value play if we're looking at front court plays, and they're not power forward, but transitioning to center here. We talked a lot about Bam being ruled out, and we've theorized, well, is it Precious? Who's going to play? Well, we may have forgotten that they actually signed Dwayne Dedmon, and Dedmon played 15 minutes the other night in his second game with them, had 23 fantasy points and a double-double. Dedmon probably starts tonight. I would have to assume with Bam being ruled out, and he's min price on DraftKings. So,
yep,
3K Dwayne Dedmon is probably where a lot of people are going to go tonight on DraftKings. Again, assuming he's starting, but like Dedmon 3K against the Houston, you throw him in your center, throw him in your util, like he's just your salary saver. So I'd rather play him over Tillman tonight.
Yeah, and talk about fresh. He's played 2 games this year. So Dwayne Dedmon is very healthy, very fresh. We shouldn't worry about the back.
He looks 105 years old in his DraftKings photo.
He's looked about that since he entered the league.
Right.
But if we're going to spend up, John, I think there is an interesting debate at the top because we have probably 2 of the 3 best plays at one position, and on FanDuel, you can only play one of these guys. On DraftKings, if you want to play Embiid and Jokic, by all means do so. If you're on FanDuel, let's just swing it over there because you can only play one.
Yep.
Where is your lean? I think I know, and I think some statuses of some guys could alter that. But let's get your take on who you would be rostering on FanDuel. 300, what is it? $700 difference actually.
Yeah. So listen, I've been marking out for Embiid pretty much all season long. Like I've been on the Embiid train. He's looked phenomenal. He's looked in shape. The effort we've seen night in, night out has been fantastic. He's been relatively healthy, knock on wood, here. And we were looking at stats earlier today when I was putting the playbook together. We already know Harris unlikely to play. Dwight Howard's questionable. And then Ben Simmons all of a sudden popped up as questionable. And I'm like, all right, well, like what's Embiid's numbers look like with Harris and Simmons off the floor? And it's an 88-minute sample size, and he has a 45.6% usage rate, averaging 2.2 fantasy points per minute. So like, yeah, that's 80 fantasy point territory right there. If those guys are ruled out, and it's going up against Golden State, Kevon Looney is supposed to be defending Joel Embiid tonight, or Draymond's going to be the one that's on him. It's going to be an interesting matchup. Draymond does he still have it in the bag to be the defensive player of the year type guy? I don't know. Embiid has been phenomenal lately.
Yeah, not this version. Not this
version. Embiid has been phenomenal lately, anyways. Even with Simmons on the floor, the last 3 games for Joel Embiid, 36, 39, 36 actual points in those games. So, like, he's just out of his mind. He's averaging 30 and 11 on the year. So, yes, I lean heavy here, Joel Embiid, especially if Ben Simmons is ruled out, and maybe even anyways. But it's hard to look at what Nikola Jokic has been doing without Jamal Murray in the lineup. And he's back to giving you triple doubles. He had 29, 16, and 7 in just 27 minutes against Houston. He had triple double against Miami, 27, 12, and 8 against Golden State, triple double against Boston, triple double against San Antonio. That's his last 5. So, like, he's a walking 60-point machine right now, and there's more upside. For me, it's more so the worry again. Like, yes, he went for 65 in 27 minutes against Houston. He's going to probably have to give you that in 27 minutes again tonight. Like, I do worry that there's a potential blowout here. John Morant hasn't been fantastic. If they're without Dylan Brooks, Clark isn't a scorer really.
Valanciunas already rolled out.
Yeah, Valanciunas. I just don't know where the scoring is coming from Memphis tonight. So I think Denver's going to have a big lead in this one. and it has you shying away from Jokic a bit. But again, the guy went for 65 and 27 minutes against Houston, so like certainly capable. I'd rather keep the $700 and give my hand here with Embiid.
John, you have 2 centers remaining in the playbook here. We will talk about one and make everyone else go to fantasyalarm.com for the one that we leave out. But Kelly Olynyk has been, I think you sleep with his rookie card under your pillow. Maybe there is a poster on your ceiling. Maybe both. We'd have to confirm with your significant other. We will reach out to her and find out the official word on that. But talk to me about your favorite player, Kelly Olynyk, because he is looking like the guy that that your Celtics drafted over Giannis a few years back.
I mean, listen, he's falling into the perfect scenario of like a overachieving player on a bad team, right? Like the Rockets aren't any good. They're constantly basically without John Wall half the time. They're sitting him. They need offense to come from somewhere, and Kelly O's like, right here, guys. Like, let me take 15 to 20 shots a night, and that's what he's doing. But he's also making those shots, right. Shooting 43% from 3 and 60% from the floor since being acquired by the Rockets. So, like, the guy has been unbelievable. 3 straight games of over 20 actual. He has like 4 double-doubles over the last 7. He's still under $7,000. Like, they're giving him no respect. Now he's going up against Houston. There's no Bam tonight. You know, Dedmon, sure, tough defensive player there, but like he's just gonna sit on the arc and just launch threes. So I listen. I like Kelly O. I like the man bun. His nickname was the Clinic. It's Kelly the Clinic Olynyk. So like he's out there. He used to like play basketball like he was a baby giraffe. Like there's no real coordination really. It seemed like half the time when he was in Boston. But he's out there balling, and we talked a lot, James. Like, he would be the guy where we're always like, he can win you a GPP if he's in your lineup on the right night. Like when he went for 50 fantasy points against the Pacers, I'm sure nobody was expecting that, and you got almost 10x out of Kelly Olynyk. So listen, I think Olynyk's fine here. I have no problem running him in.
2 things before we get out of here, John. One, is there going to be a video played on the big screen for him tonight in Miami? 2, will his jersey be in the rafters forever in Miami?
Probably not, but yes, there should be a video tribute to the man bun for sure. Also, Miles Turner out indefinitely, so we're getting that news here as we're closing. So no Miles Turner, can already count that one out. We'll see if more news comes here for the Pacers situation. Steve Kerr says Steph Curry likely to play. Can we stop with the likelies and just give us a definitive answer? At least they're in Philly. Kelly Oubre will be active tonight. So that's death to Kent Bazemore. Yep. Makes that game a little bit more
less, John. We want to base less.
Yeah, base less, right? We're basing less tonight with Kelly Oubre back. Is there a revenge game? No, he played for the Wizards. He wasn't on the Sixers. So
yeah, Wizards and Suns and yeah.
Right. So, all right. So more news is coming out at 6:00. We got the core plays coming out shortly. Where we get us in chat, get us on Twitter, James. We can send this one out for us.